Hello, my YouTube friends. It is Michelle from Michelle's Life on Repeat, and I should have turned on the camera before I started fiddling, but here we have one of my 9 little monkeys just disintegrating before our eyes. I'll show you what I saw when I came in this morning. So they were all stacked up, you know. Da da da. We'll recreate all this. So that is what she looked like this morning. And I noticed, okay, yesterday these were not yellow and floppy. So I got to peeking around. She still has her one root. So I peeled off one of them and it's got old stuff. And then by the time I got the second one peeled off, the middle with the newest growth just popped right out of the core because she is rotted on the inside. Sometimes our hopes and our best intentions don't make something better. Just to let you know, it happens. See the rot? Now, I was hoping and banking that she would grow more roots, but after 3 months with no more root growth, of course, the middles got a little bigger and a little shinier, but she produced no new roots. It was kind of an obvious that she had more internal damage than, whoops, let me get it up here, that she had more internal damage than we could see on the outside. So don't give up, guys. Like I say when I buy an orchid from the grocery store, they won't last forever. And some of them are already striked up against you with the maybe 6-month wonders. You know, they last beautifully and then they just never recuperate. Others will bloom and come back again year after year, but this was not one of them. So our 9 little monkeys that moved down to 6 have now moved down to 5 little monkeys. Let me show you something else. My husband brought home from work an orchid. Let's clean up this mess. And we will put her right into the bin. One root wonders. Voila, number 5, you are done. You had no fun. Okay, let me show you what my husband brought home from work for me. Ah, isn't he a kind soul? He's been telling me for a month how well his orchid at work has been doing. And I said, proof is in the scene. So let me see what you have at home. And he told me, well, she's kind of gone a little limp. So I gave her a whole bunch of water yesterday. And I said, bring her home. And then he asked one day, well, how do you make the spikes grow? I said, well, she really would like colder nights. So, okay, I'll move her to a colder spot at night. I said, just bring her home. So this is what we are looking at, of a very wilted, very much in need of intervention orchid. We'll see if we can get her back to health. Let's take her out of her pot and let's look at her. She does have some hope, and that's what my husband kept seeing. Well, she has a root. Yeah, she needs more than one root if she's going to be strong. So let's dump her out and find out what we have in the pot. And see what we have in this here pot. We had big bark at the bottom for those roots that would hopefully get down there. And this is moist, like he said he did water it. He has a great window with light and sun, and I see on one of the roots, and I see on one of the leaves that had started to burn and get too hot in that spot. So I'll show you that in a minute. But let us tease away what we can. All right, a lot of us, when we peek at our orchids and we can't figure out why they're limp, we're like, what's going on? These roots, a lot of them are dead. Do you see how it's green and then breaks off? And this is just paper. A lot of our roots are like that. They need to be trimmed back, cut back, and we'll soak it and see what comes up as actually green before we do cuttings. But here is the sun damage. She got too much heat in one spot for too long. and on the underside you can see where it burned. Now that'll stay with the leaf until it falls off. Generally the bottom leaves, when they get old, will fall off. Each year you might lose one, but there's hopes that we can save this girl. Let me get her soaking in some nutrient water of seaweed, some CalMag, and just a touch of fertilizer, and then we will look at her in just a minute. And here before you are the tools of today's operation. We have the bark that was still very good, and a little bit of fresh sphagnum moss that I put in the base of the pot for when she is ready to go back in. But let me show you the rest of the things. I have fresh rainwater because in the Pacific Northwest we get a lot of rain. I have filled it in this container that she's going to soak with. I have my TDS meter that measures how many parts per million of particles and salts and things are in the water. And with rainwater and this dirty container that I chose to use without really wiping it out, I have 1. That's a good number. So I'm good with that. I'm going to add in some seaweed extract and some CalMag to this water, and we'll slowly try to get up into the maybe 100, 150 range. I don't want to shock her. She's not doing the best. So let's first add some CalMag. I have put the CalMag into a small container so that I don't have to pour it from the big container every time I need it, and it takes less counter space. And I have a dropper, and I'm going to put in just 4 drops and see 1, 2, 3, 4, what that will bring the rate up to. We'll stir it up with the magic stirrer wand. And let's see what our parts per million. Okay, it's gone up to 48. So that's, oh, now it's gone to 90. There we go. It's holding at 90. Can you see that from where you're at? And as soon as I lift it, it won't be at 90 anymore. So let me get it closer maybe. You can see the 90. So that's close enough for me on that. Let's add a little bit of the seaweed extract. That helps the roots, gives it like a hormone boost. Put the lid on so I don't spill this all over everything. Okay, and I have poured some of the seaweed extract into the cap, and I will put, let's just do 4 drops too. 1, 2, 3, 4. See what that drops us up to. Magic wand. It's kind of like a Bloody Mary, right? Not quite. Let's move this in. See what we are up to now. We are now up to 119. So I could probably give it more root juice. That's what I like to call it. And maybe we'll get to about 200. I did not add any additional fertilizer while she's just in recovery. I'll let her get soaked up, let her recover and kind of sit and for a week after she has a good soaking, and then I will do fertilizer treatments. Let's see what we moved up to now. The shade has changed to a darker shade, and we are at, now we're at 142. That's good enough for me. Good enough. If you notice, I have below all this stuff a bath mat. I like to get them when they're on sale, or even if I'm at a secondhand store. I'll get them. I'm going to put this off to the side and rinse the cap out later. I like to get them because you can just shake them into the trash and then put them in the washing machine. You don't have to fuss much about throwing away wads of newspaper or scraping it all with your hands. It's just easy. I like that. So we move these out of the way, and now I will just let her soak. Put her in. Don't want to get her up to the crown, so I want to make sure that she sits a little high, so I might put a little spacer in there. that she gets her roots done, but she doesn't get, there we go. She'll soak up that stuff. There, the little spacer helps her not get her crown dropped into the water. And then I'll make sure those roots turn green on the top by stirring it around and repositioning her. And I'm gonna let her soak for a couple of hours and get healthy again. Okay. That's what she's gonna do for a few hours while I move on to other things. And we will come back when she's thoroughly soaked and we'll check and examine and then begin to snip off the dead. That'll be the next step. Welcome back. We have had this orchid soaking for a while now, and time has passed. I've been to the dentist, I've made lunch, I've made dinner, I've come back to my table and I brought my tea with me, and I realized I still had my coffee from this morning, and that would explain the migraine that might still be coming on. I still got a whole cup of coffee I didn't get to this morning. Working on tea though. So let's look at our plant. She's been soaking. And we see some death in the roots. We also see some live roots. So that's a good thing. Let's work with this and let's trim off the dead and put her in a much smaller pot than she was in. Let's see if this angle works for all of us. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors, sterilize them again. And I'll give you a close-up again of those roots. I'm just going to go through and cut off everything that is partially dead anyway. So that's what I'll be doing down here on the table. Let's see if I can get this lower so you can see. Ooh. Where to begin? So much. But you know, she's got a lot of good roots, so that's encouraging. I have seen worse in my day. In fact, there are worse root situations on my own shelf right up here. So, hubby takes better care of orchids than I do. Wonder if that means we should change occupations. Nah, I can't do what he does. Get some of those dead ones off. If it's bent, cracked halfway through, I'm not going to waste my energy trying to pamper it, so it came off. I'll go ahead and trim off all these deads, and I'll let you see when I'm done what I have left. I've taken off all this dead stuff, dead roots, so now she is fresh, and we will put this in the trash and move on to her. Very much lighter, fresher, kind of like getting a good haircut. Now I'm going to put her in a smaller container, much smaller than she was in. Let me show you. I am attempting to decide. I think the smaller pot's definitely better than the big one that we had, but this one is still pretty wide, so I think I'm going to go with the more narrow one that will be deeper. And just plop her in here and fill up all around her. She doesn't quite go to the bottom, so let me take some of this out. There we go. Now I'm going to just fill in with bark. She looks pretty sturdy in this pot now. Clean up her little leaves around her. And I will give her a good drink. And we'll take a progress look at her in a couple of weeks and see if we have a little less flop and a whole lot more life. This we'll call Hubby's Phalaenopsis. Much. I'll give her a good drink of water and then let her rest and settle into her new home. And we'll check in on her in a couple of weeks and see how she's faring. Thank you for spending time with me today. I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you are enjoying my channel, please feel free to subscribe. It helps keep me motivated.